What's up, boys? We're back with some more of the God of Weapons Eternal Nightmares DLC. There's currently a contest for who can reach the highest floor with either the Treasure Hunter, Plague Doctor, or Necromancer, so we're kind of giving that a little bit of a shot. And then we're trying to scale up the Banner of Heaven unique weapon as much as possible. Gains a bunch of different stats based on the total number of kills, and then we're scaling up a ton of extra enemies so we can get that as high as possible. The extra range is nice so that we can just always hit stuff. The permanent armor increase on that, combined with a bunch of shields, will make it so you can block basically everything, and I think that's about it. The floors get longer and longer for every floor, so it's starting to take quite a while to get through them. We're up to almost 1 trillion DPS it looks like, but we're just trying to get as many kills as possible on the Polearm still. I have a bunch of different pretty fast attacking weapons that can stack the shock debuff. It does a minor amount of damage, but more importantly it gives you 5% critical damage for every stack on enemies. So even if they are very tanky, we can keep stacking that up until they die. And I have bonuses for standing still, so we can't really even actively do anything now, since my damage is actually higher, and I might have more survivability. Oh yeah, we gain extra gems and rewards from points of interest for every luck, and since the unique polearm also gives you luck based on the number of kills, we get more than a full inventory of gems, although I'm basically done with those, I think. I'm really just looking for some extra potions for some tiny stat boost now. Not a whole lot else I can do for the build, just kind of let it play itself out now. So it sounds like we need to get to like floor 130 plus to have a chance at getting one of the top places for the challenge, and each floor is getting to be about 5 minutes or so now. So it's going to take at least hours to get there. The shields only get used up if you don't dodge the hits, so I think I have like 85% dodge. So I think the shields actually recharge faster than they can get used up now. We have a bunch of the gems that give you stacking recovery if you haven't taken damage, and a blocked hit from the shields doesn't actually mess it up. So we go up to 817 recovery, which also gives me some lifesteal and vitality and damage off of all of that. But the shield should be very quick with that much recovery. But yeah, I've actually mostly just been running this in the background while doing other things, since I can't really influence it a ton anyways. There's a lifesteal item that does, I think, 1% of your HP and damage until you go down to like 15%. So I think 1000 HP is actually about 15% where we stabilize with that, so I'm not actually losing HP, we're kind of stable here, as long as enemies can't actually break through the shields, which they don't seem to be able to yet. There's a unique effect on one of the unique items, the Divine Punisher, I think. If you take damage a few times in a level, it will start applying a fairly high base damage burn, and the ticking damage from the heart actually does seem to allow that to start triggering, even if you haven't taken damage from enemies themselves. I'm not sure if the burn is relevant. I would assume probably not. But it does scale with, I think, recovery and lifesteal now. Burn can stack infinitely as well, so maybe it does something on single targets, I don't know. Damage numbers are so insane with the sheer number of hits and enemies we have now that you literally can't see anything if I have them turned on, so it's kind of hard to tell for any specific damage source. see, I think we got all the points of interest here. Oh yeah, there is one unique item I haven't unlocked yet. It's not that difficult. That's supposed to be pretty good for infinite runs like this. It's like a unique staff that gives you a bunch of gold when you lifesteal. I don't think it's the most important because gold is kind of heavy on the diminishing returns because the rerolls, and the main thing you're looking for in here is potions that have like permanent bonuses, which also increase in price for everyone you've gotten in the run. So I think the diminishing returns on that are heavy enough you don't have to have it, but it might help out a bit. This is actually one of the best potions. It gives you inventory space. We're capped out on that, but the 2 elite enemies actually feeds into this thing to give you extra % damage and armor, and that's the most important thing there. So I'm still using those. See if we can see any of the other potions. Nope, we're out of gold. But you'd get a few more rerolls if you did have that unique staff unlocked. And you definitely want to use the summoning circles to get even more elites out for that stacking bonus. They actually die pretty quickly once we get our shock stacks on them. There's a cap on lifesteal. I think you can basically only benefit from 100% on it, so that's why we only ever get the +1 for all of the hits. And it might only be 1 per weapon attack as well. We don't really seem to be scaling that up based on the number of enemies we're hitting. So it seems like it's a maximum of 1 life per attack per weapon or something like that. Oh yeah, there's also a unique item I got on this run that's not bad. There's a tier 4 consumable item you can get in the shop that can create a unique item from the other classes. I believe it's actually based on the other items you have unlocked, so if there's any really good ones, you actually do want to do the little side quests to unlock those if possible. I don't have probably even half of them unlocked yet, so there might be some good ones I'm missing there as well. But I did get a decent one for this run. Starting to get pretty laggy whenever we get the gems off of those statues. I might have to remove the item that improves those rewards at some point. I think that's 1 trillion DPS. It's kind of hard to tell with all the numbers moving. So 3, somewhere around there, I don't know. It's an insane amount of DPS. I actually do seem to be dropping below 1000 HP, but my recovery is still maxed out. There's actually some weird stuff with the HP where if you have an effect that increases your vitality during combat, then it won't actually update until you look at the stat screen. So because I gain recovery, which gives me lifesteal, which gives me vitality, that won't update my HP unless I open the stat screen here. So this is the unique item you start with on the treasure hunter, gives you a bunch of stuff based on luck. Probably doesn't do a whole lot at this point, but the ones we actually created during the run are this one, adding the blessed tag to adjacent weapons and giving a bit of base damage based on recovery. But that's actually interesting because this gives percentage damage based on 2 recovery, and then these ones give you 1% for every 3 recovery, so we've got a few of those touching the banner, and then that as well, so that'll ramp up the damage on it quite a bit. And then we've also gotten this horseshoe, 1% attack speed for every 1% movement speed. So actually not bad unique items we crafted in this run, I feel like. Just looking for some more potions here. That one spawns elites, right? Yeah, 2 elites, that's pretty good. But you really don't want to be spending a lot of time in this screen since the stages themselves take so long to get through. Got a boss. I want to get close to them so that my weapons will be more likely to hit them and keep stacking up the shock and chill effects on them. That's a lot of bosses. That's a lot of gems. Gems are truly, truly outrageous. So we're at 3000 HP, I opened the screen up to 3700. Weird little bug with the HP there. Although the vitality increase on the hammer, or the polearm I mean, the Banner of Heaven actually does seem to work as it's killing enemies there. Those golden statues actually do seem to give a ton of gold with the increased point of interest rewards you get from the treasure hunter item. I'm not even fully sure if the Banner of Heaven scales completely with range, because I would think it would hit basically the entire screen now, but it doesn't actually seem to be the case. The graphic on it definitely doesn't seem to change any with the huge range increase. Potions. I don't think that really does anything. I guess we can keep my XP lower if that does anything. More elites is good. So this does a burn if you've taken damage 5 times, and the damage is based on your recovery. And then if it's adjacent to this Abyssal Cleaver, then that also scales with lifesteal, and you get lifesteal equal to the recovery. I'm not sure if it's good, but it will keep stacking up on single targets at least. The interesting thing is that in the Altar of Fates, you can also favorite like shields, so I've got the cooldown on these extremely low, and that's before having the like 800 plus recovery from all the gems. And I also have a shocking thing in most of the weapons so that we can keep stacking that up. I've got chill and the crossbow over here just in case that's helpful against like bosses and stuff. Oh god. The gym lag. Yeah, I think we're getting more and more kills on each floor since they're lasting longer. And it's already lagging so much when the gems come out. I think we're going to have to get rid of that unique item at some point just so it doesn't crash the game as the lag gets worse and worse with my luck scaling up. Yeah, that's getting really silly. think melee and projectile power really does anything because they should be additive with the base damage, right? I guess it's cheap enough we may as well use them just in case. That's actually something I should have checked since I haven't been using a ton of those. That doesn't really do anything. Those are pretty good. They spawn in elites, and either movement or attack speed is pretty good. More elites. But yeah, that's about all I've done in the builds. We gain damage and dodge from movement speed over there. We gain some stats while standing still. That brings us up to an 85% dodge cap. Armor's reduction caps out at 75%, but they keep scaling up the shields, which is the very important thing. Let's see, these get a little bit of extra lifesteal next to the Abyssal Cleaver, and then I have some gems buffing up the recovery. So that'll make my shields a bit faster and increase my damage a bit. And I think that's about all for the build. This gives you damage and vitality based on lifesteal. I don't think vitality does anything, but the damage is okay. This thing will consume 2 Titanites to give you a revival, and you'll be getting thousands of those from such a long run. But I don't think we need to show too much more of this. It's literally just an incremental game that I can't really influence at this point. So I'm going to keep running it in the background off stream, but probably not show any more about this, and I'll see if I can eventually get it up to a point where we can get one of the top places in the contest and hopefully bring a bit more attention to the game, since I actually do like it. There's a lot of different build variety, although this part's where the floors are just super long and I can't do anything actually is pretty boring. I don't really see anything in pushing super high levels where you can't really influence the game a whole lot. But overall, I'm having a lot of fun experimenting with different builds and classes and all. I think I started this run with like a few hundred Titanite, and we're up to over 8,000. So anything you dump into pumping up the weapons at the start is pretty easy to make back several times over. Oh yeah, one thing is I put a bunch of attack speed onto the Banner of Heaven because I didn't know there was an attack speed cap on weapons. But I think we've hit that several times over, so a lot of that was wasted actually, and I should have put more into the weapon damage and critical damage of it instead of the attack speed. So yeah, the attack speed on that is capped at 0.1, and then I think that one's capped at 0.2. This is the third item I had at the Altar of the Fates because you start with it on the Treasure Hunter, and it's pretty nice at applying debuffs, extra piercing, so that we can hit even more targets with it, and then chill and shock on that. I put a bunch of attack speed on that, but it's useless now, so I think crit damage and weapon damage are the way to go for that. But yeah, that's about it. Let's see what potions we got here. That's not bad. More elites. But yeah, that's everything I did for my treasure hunter build here. That's going to be it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.